put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 7th of April, 2026. You're back for another episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your hosts, Zach and Toby. Zach at this end, Toby at the other. Brought to you, as always, by Best On Ground Digital. Best On Ground Digital, the digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy. They will not steer you wrong. bestongrounddigital.com. And Mr. Toby coming to you from top of the tower, top two, all the way up here. It's a long way down there. I can't even see, mate. It's so far down.
I know one of them is the Dragons. Yeah, I think the reason I know that is because I'm an old man's Dragon fan. I asked him if he wanted to come back to the Tigers. His response was, I did play for them, so, I've always got a soft spot. Like, whatever. Shithead.
Miserable time to be a Dragons fan, but we're not here to talk about that.
No. But we've done our lean years. They're over. No more.
Mate, before we get into the nuts and bolts of it all, how do you summarise up that game in a sentence?
Gritty. Very, very gritty. There was a lot of things that there was no polish or very little polish, but our determination won through. So impressive in that retrospect.
Okay. Yeah, you got to agree with you. I think that, whilst Para were brave in a lot of ways when you really think about what went against them pre-game and in the game, whether you like them or not. So they had a fair bit of adversity too, but, we had a fair few sort of calls and decisions and bits and pieces that didn't really go our way. And to be honest, I don't think we played particularly well. I think we did quite well to sort of keep ourselves in the game and control, the tempo of the game. But I think there was quite a few bits and pieces missing around just execution as they continue to figure out a couple of combinations and whatnot as well. I think Para's defensive structures were pretty effective. They worked really hard from the inside. And I think that balked a couple of our opportunities and some of our regular lines that people were running. But the good thing is, we'll get into the game more so a little bit later in the show, but the good thing is, mate, close game. We lost the Souths one. We've picked up this one, so it's forget where we are on the table means nothing. At the start of April means less than nothing, but it's you'd rather be there than down the bottom.
No, exactly. I mean, I think this is comfortably one of the best starts we've had probably since 2020. I think is when we probably had a run of succession wins like we have now, but. Yeah, I think for me, and if Benji's listening, he's going to hate that I'm going to say it, but last year, or even the year before, you think about how many of those really close games we lost, and, even last year, I think there was probably a good chance we lost maybe 5, 6, or 7 of those really close games, and that's ones that could have tipped us into the top 8 last year. So it is pleasing to get that over the line, regardless of how it came about. I mean, people can sit there and especially Para fans can come and say this and that and, they didn't get the rub of the green, but neither did we really. Goff was inconsistent at best. Really, I think he did okay, but yeah, there was calls that we let go that are just blatantly obvious. The amount of forward passes from dummy half was ridiculous. I mean, I know that's not on Goff, that's on the sideys as well. But
I haven't even spoken to you about that, and I was banging on about that a lot. I reckon it was double digits.
Easy.
That being said, I think it all came out in the wash in that game. I think that
that's what I'm saying.
The football teams in many ways decided the game as much as the end of it. It was just a crappy way for the game to end, I guess. But there's always going to be a winner and a loser in that scenario.
But yeah, not for us. Mate. We were definitely the winners.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, the tight ones are the ones that make the difference. I think we're a far better football team on, the first month of football's form than what we were last year. And I think in a lot of ways, we played some good footy last year, but I don't know that we deserved to be there when the drums started beating at the end of the year. This team keeps playing like this, and it's a long season, but this team keeps playing like this, and they will deserve to. As much as, the Para game wasn't our best outing of the year, there's a lot of good signs, mate. On that note, I think it might be time for a little segment that we call News from Tiger Town. Yes, it is News from Tiger Town, a little segment where we try to go through all the stories doing the rounds on the socials or on the media platforms over the course of the last week. Kick it off with the Easter Monday thriller, obviously, that we spoke about. We will further to speak about a little further as well, but a fair bit going on in that game and a bit of contentious around that. Obviously, the game's been played out. There's going to be a lot of articles floating around about it, so we don't need to dive deep into that. Luke Leilani off the back of the tackle, though, where Bailey Simonson unfortunately fractured and dislocated his ankle. He's facing a one-match ban from the judiciary at the moment, Toby. Mate, that was one that...
Accepted it.
They've accepted it, have they?
I think so,
They've taken the plea? Okay. We might as well jump into that briefly now, so going too deep into it later. Give me the Cliff Notes. What's your take on that scenario?
Well, I mean, that happens 2-3 times a game. It was very unfortunate of how he landed. You put him down. There was no malice, no intent. He didn't go in there looking to do that. But at the same time, the injuries do play a part in whether you get a stint or not. You look at a lot of these high shots. Some people go in with a shoulder and doesn't do anything. They get a warning or they get even a 10 in the bin and it ends up just being nothing at the judiciary. But sometimes they go in and they put on a full-on shot and it gets them in a bit of hot water. So honestly, I didn't think it was a sin bin. But yeah, it's kind of also hard to defend it given the outcome. So
yeah, it's a dangerous game, I think, when we start considering the outcome and the injuries that take place, because injuries take place in regulation tackles too. And so an injury occurring is not necessarily going to be the direct result of a tackle made. It could have been that, anyway, without speculating too much.
But a regular speculation tackle doesn't get penalised. You get tackled in the air, it does get penalised.
I know.
So I'm just saying that's the difference.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying by that is I'm saying the injury is not indicative of the tackle being dangerous by default, because non-dangerous tackles can also elicit injury, as we saw with the Adokar one with his ribs when Sione came in and hit him legally, but he got injured off the back of it. That doesn't mean that was a dangerous or illegal tackle. So what I'm saying is, if you start considering injuries or outcomes as a key weighing factor, then it can start to muddy the waters, because two people could go in with exactly the same, having done exactly the same thing, and then based upon the injury or the outcome of the situation, which is the variables there are beyond their control. One might get 4 weeks if they hit someone with a swinging arm and cause a broken jaw, whereas one might get 1 week because there is no injury. Now, that it might seem like an extreme situation, and maybe those numbers are off slightly, but what I'm saying is, if the injury is allowed to influence the outcome, then you can get people getting different outcomes or different charges or different punishments for the same offence. And if we're okay with that, so be it. But I thought the whole thing about, and like, even as I say it, like it's not an easy one, because in a lot of ways you do, like, I completely understand why it was done, and I understand what para fans must be saying too, because they'd be sitting there and the alternative.
Two guys on the sideline.
Hey?
Especially those two Muppets on the sideline.
Yeah,
Did
but
you say that?
yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that they're saying that if Luke Lalali doesn't engage in an illegal play there, even if it was like low level illegal, if we have that, then Simonson probably doesn't do his foot or do his ankle, which like there's a pretty strong argument for that too. So I get both sides of it. I'm just saying it is fraught with danger if they, and they seem to have used the outcome of the offence that was committed to dictate the punishment. And I just think that can be fraught with danger. I'm happy to cop the 1 week. I hope that Bailey Simonson has a quick recovery. I was reading 3 to 6 months is the recovery time, which is in some ways he might be back this season with a good outcome. So fingers crossed for that. You don't want to see it. It was fucking horrible to watch.
It was. Yeah.
But I think just strictly talking about the sin bin, it's one of those contentious ones. And I think that both sides have legitimate points.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
All right, mate. Well, moving on a little bit further. Benji last week spoke about he's getting a little bit, not he's getting a bit tired, but he's not a fan of pats on the back, just to how it can make teams complacent. And I just immediately have jumped to us short term in the past where the Tigers teams of the past have had good little runs of form and gotten pats on the back. And what do we tend to become? That's what we've often spoken about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much of that do you think is him messaging or just trying to ensure that no complacency arises versus how much he actually believes?
With Benji, I actually think he believes it because he's been part of the Tigers system that does that. And he knows that it doesn't work, like as a player and a coach. I think he's really trying. I think he probably falls into that whole conversation about standards as well. When we talk about standards, yeah. When we talk, the whole thing about standards on the field, off the field, everything like that.
Yep.
So, that can definitely become, a layer in that as well. Is these are the standards that we've set. If we don't reach those standards, then what are we going to pat ourselves on the back for? And every single week, whether we've won or lost this year, everyone, Benji, Romy, Appy, have come out saying that we've still got a lot to improve on. Because obviously the standards that we're setting is a lot higher than we've ever set. And I think when you think about pats on the back, complacency and things like that, that would be something that a standard would shake. So,
and I guess that represents part of Benji's growth as a coach as well. He's recognising that he needed to change his approach and the expectations that he had within his squad and his staff as well, in order to get results. And essentially that seems to have become non-negotiable. On that note, he also had mentioned the Australian, I think the Australian put out a story about, referring to it as Benji ball, but he mentioned this last week that he's not a fan of it, and for a pretty valid reason, I thought, mate, which was that it's not him out there. They're not trying to emulate something magical that he's come up with. It is a product and a manifestation of the individuals within the team. And he has created a style, or they have collectively created a style that highlights the strength of each of those individuals. If that's Benji ball, that is just the holy grail of top shelf coaching, which is knowing who you've got and creating systems and processes that best suit each of the individuals as your team so that they can work as a unit. Mate, what's your take on that? To be perfectly honest, I thought it was a really great way to sort of straight back that question.
Yeah, look, we all know that media loves to coin terms, loves to create these things that become viral more than anything. And Benji ball, obviously they're trying to get something to catch on, and just sound like Benji nipped it in the butt. So.
I think it's pretty clear, though, into that larger conversation around individuals, in the way that we can see certain plays, the way that they're using certain individuals, even without injuries. They talk about how the improvements that they've seen in Kai Pearce-Paul over the start of the year, for example, and what he's been allowed to bring, and more importantly, how he's been used.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, KPP has been probably one of my form starters. Like there's quite a few, but for me, what he's added to that right edge, more so like I think we were comfortable with Seyfarth's defence on that right edge, but KPP's taken to another level. He's tightened it. He's communicating well. He's doing so many things, and it's probably fair to say that a lot of that comes down to how the coaching staff, not just Benji, Hojo, J-Moz, all of them, have really gotten the best out of these players so far. And, you talk to a lot of Knights fans, they didn't utilise KPP properly, and it just seems that we are. So, again, going back to what you originally said in terms of coaching to individual strengths, that is, like you said, a prime example.
Yeah, Tino Tavana just on the tip of my lips at the minute. He's another. Allows me to segue into the story about Daily Telegraph put out a story about Tino, talking about being almost axed. It's pretty common knowledge now that he didn't start the preseason all too well. And they actually had to get a dispensation for him to play last week. And then he's there, had a couple of great weeks, mate, coming into the side. Talking about individuals, they've utilised, obviously, what Tino's greatest strength is his aerial ability, and they've gone straight to it. Again, a sign of good coaching that we're talking about.
Good coaching and, I guess, smart playmakers as well. Madden has... I was talking to... Because my brother came and watched the game with us yesterday. I was talking to him, and what he's evolved into by having 2 to 3 years as an understudy to Adam Reynolds has been eye-opening, because we were extremely critical of him before he left. But that perfect example is he knew what the setup was for Tino for that try. Set it up on the left, step back, turned, kick to the right. Bang. So, again, when we talk about playing individuals to their strengths, there's another strength. Let Jock control the kicking, because that is a strength of his. So
strong Benji theme in the news this week, with Latu also doing a story with Daily Telegraph as well a couple of days ago, talking about how he doesn't really care what position he plays, whether it's halfback or even the possibilities of a long-term future in the lock position and playing in that more mobile lock. He just feels as though he loves the club and owes Benji the world. And hearing that out of the mouths of another Finu, mate, and up there with probably the one that I reckon is the most talented at the end of the day, is just music to my ears. I don't know about you.
Absolutely. Well, when you said the most talented, for me, he's got the most ceiling as well. I think there's so much to unravel with him.
Yeah.
So much to unravel with him. It's pretty fair to say we've really only scratched the surface with him.
Yeah.
And this is coming from two guys that he's your favourite player at the moment, but I love Sam. And we love what Sione's bringing off the bench, especially when he gets a high tackle. It's great. Yeah. Can really draw that penalty really well. But yeah, to have him say that, and it's probably part and parcel why we re-signed Benji for as long as we did, because of his connection with the playing group. There is something special here.
It is that is the reason they did it. They had to quieten the noise, and the noise was basically just around the playing group initially, and just that concept, not to revisit it, but that concept of here we go again. It quietened the noise in a big way, and so that gives them, to your point, gives them the peace of mind that this is our system for a long time. So we can settle in, we can put down roots and grow.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really big one on Latu. I just pray, touch wood, that he starts getting some football under his belt, because dead set he's talking about playing between 89 and 92 kilo if he wants to play in that lock role. He mentioned this in the article. And mate, as dynamic and skillful and talented with the eyes up football he can play, his acceleration, his strength, his ability to beat a man, his ball playing, he would be the prototypical perfect ball-playing lock. Size is the only thing, but they're getting smaller and smaller with the game getting faster and faster anyway. Twiley's probably up there for one of the bigger locks at the moment, to be perfectly honest. He and maybe Paddy Carrigan. So, very pleased to hear it. Mate, outside of that, wasn't an article, but I did hear that Kit apparently is following Luke to Perth for next year, which is not really a surprise. And I guess in a lot of ways, good luck to the boys over there. I don't think there'll be any ill will there. They've come through the Magpie system, and obviously Luke has gotten a fair bit of game time, had a bit of an education, baptism of fire there. And we haven't seen as much of Kit, mate, but he's definitely got time on his side as well.
Yeah, because he's what, 22?
Oh, he's only 20, I think, Kit. I think Kit's only a year older than Luke, and Luke's 19. So.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, well, obviously, he's got plenty of time on his side.
Yeah.
And who knows? He might go over there just underneath the tutelage of the one and great coach that is Mal Meninga, really develop into a great forward.
True. Yeah.
That was tongue in cheek.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess, what happens with the Lilies, but it'll be one name that I won't have to stumble over as much in the podcast at least. But no, I wish them all the best. Like that, if there's nothing else that pops into your mind.
No, I haven't. It's been actually a bit of a quiet one again. Still waiting to hear something about Buller, but I don't know. Hopefully it's not on ridiculous money because he's not worth it.
News from Tiger Down. All right, let's hook into the meat and potatoes of this game that was played yesterday at Combank Stadium. 22-20, the Tigers, mighty Tigers, the mighty Wests Tigers. You beauty, get that up, ya. Got it over the Eels. 22-20, as I said before. 54% possession. Completion rate for us pretty solid, around 83% there. Tobe, mate, all runs, all run meters, post-contact. We had it all over him in that regard. Worryingly for me, 6 line breaks to 3 in Parramatta's favour. Although 47 tackle breaks for us to 21 to them. Weird set of stats from an attacking standpoint. Average set distance, us 40, them 32. More kick return meters. And once again, our play the ball speed seems a little slower than others. I think there's a few people that just take their time standing up. For Noah Pole, looking at you. Outside of that, mates, stats relatively even. Our effective tackle up just a tick under 90%, impressive 92 odd last week, I think, from memory. So 89.2, which is solid. It's very solid. Eels down there, low 90s. Errors similar. Ruck infringements similar. They had an extra couple of penalties conceded, mate. Overall, a weird set of stats in the middle there around tackle breaks and line breaks, but counterintuitive. First and foremost, who stood out to you?
We're not doing lift and sink yet, are we?
Mate, we can jump straight into it. I was trying to buy you a little bit of time, but if you're ready to jump in,
mine already.
Let's go, lift and sink.
All right, so my lift is second week in a row is KPP. I'm so impressed with what he brings.
Yep.
Nah, he's becoming my player to watch. You can have the left edge, I'll have the right edge. Bob's your uncle. But he's like, we know what he can do with his offload, but the dummy show and go pass back into Buller, like, he's so dynamic and he's so lethal and he's so strong with his defense. I'm so pleased with him. And, coming up against his old club, hopefully he has a big game, because if he has a big game, the world's the oyster right now for this guy.
He's playing good footy, and I hate the phrase, I'll be honest. I was about to say, I'll be honest. Mate, it looks to me like he's only playing in second gear, and I'm not kidding. Like, there's times when he plays hard, and he plays as hard as he needs to. I reckon that he can go to another level.
That's scary.
Which is scary and exciting all rolled into one.
Yeah.
My lift is going to be an unusual one, and it's not because I thought he was the best player, even remotely to it. But I'm going to give Marcy a pat on the back because he, game upon game upon game, is doing the hardest of the hard stuff. Luke Lealali'i, his work out of the backfield was incredible. 235 run meters, by the way. Has to be noted. But Marcy does all the hard carries. 22 runs for 198 metres, and I reckon most of them were into junior polo.
Oh, yeah.
He is a target because people know how much of a weapon he is and how much of a freak he is and how young he is. So they all try to whack him, and he just gets up and goes again and again and again and again. He's going to have a breakout game soon, and when he does, I think he's just going to just keep going ahead. But for me, mate, the most impressive thing about him is just his pure and utter bravery. So I don't think many people would nominate that. He certainly isn't on the tip sheet for Dalian points or anything, for sure. But I'm really, like, that stuff's making me smile about his game, to be honest.
He also has a solid head.
He does have a solid head. And thank goodness that Sean Russell knocked himself out and it didn't happen the other way around. Imagine if he raced out, did that shot, and knocked Marcy out cold. Like, there would have been hell to pay.
Yeah.
Like, I get it's fair game, you're playing it first grade. But, man, teams are... I do worry that teams are pushing the envelope a little bit with it. Like, they're going out to hurt him. And that sounds precious.
To hurt him.
It's like you get it. Hey?
To hurt Massey in particular.
Yeah, I think they're coming out with dog shots and all sorts of stuff. I think it's a game plan to try to get him off his game. Maybe, fair enough. But
it's not working.
And yeah, again, that goes to what I'm saying. He just keeps getting back up and running back into the teeth of him. Good work, Marcy. He's doing a great job.
He was my sink last week. Only because, one, we had to pick someone. But two, it's just his hands. His hands let him down.
Yeah, he had a poor game with his hands. Fair enough.
Didn't shake him this time. He didn't take a backward step, did he?
No, mate.
So that's the thing. I mean, you talk about his bravery, you talk about his resilience, you talk about all this jazz. It's clear as day, because you talk about a game where his hands were, horrible at times. Not all the time, but at times, really let us down. To come into this and still do the same thing, still take up the hit-ups that needed to be taken, still did all the grunt work that needed to be done. And he's still, his hands were better. I don't think he dropped one this time. He's still got some work to do in defence, I will say that, but
a lot of work to do.
For an 18-year-old,
yeah.
Again, another one like Latu, where we haven't even, the ceiling is so high for this kid.
Yeah, that's not anything we didn't already know. Mate, your sink, sorry.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious one for me. It is Luke. Yes, I agree. He had extremely strong carries out of the backfield. But it's the same thing. These coming in off the line, rushing him when he doesn't need to. Like that one where Russell got the ball out. That was under 12 shit. That was bad. And I sat there and went, my God, that was bad.
Not that it needs to be said, but I don't know who he thought he was taking. We actually had him numbered up. We had him numbered up there.
Yeah. There was no need.
Perfectly numbered up. Marcy ran in and hit man on sweep. I had him covered. He missed him. But even if he's got to go inside, Marcy Jock has him covered. It's the pass out that clears the space. And if it was just one-on-one, if Luke stays there, he's in front of his man. So I don't know what he was thinking.
But it's just, for me now, there's just too many. And the drop balls again, close to the line, For me, there's too many glaring weaknesses now. I want the kid to do well. I want him to succeed. And I think going over Perth is really going to benefit his game. But selfishly, I want Skelton to have a blinder this week, and Luke will just be the 19th man if needed.
I think the question is, how much are his errors costing us? And on the weekend, again, they're really costly. I think with Luke, It's a case of he's just one of those players where he attracts big moments, and at the moment he's not winning those moments. Like he had one at Leichhardt, right, when he took the intercept, big moment, and he got it. But he's involved in a lot of these moments, but he's not winning a lot of them.
No.
You know, and I think that can come with time and experience, and as you get older, and he's got youth on his side, obviously, like well and truly. The question I'm asking, the weekend was no-brainer. If he drops 2 footballs a match, how much is that offsetting other good things he's doing? Like, he ran for 220 fucking metres on the weekend. And his carries and when he was getting them were phenomenal. Like, undisputedly
I'm not
phenomenal.
That.
And
I'm
I was scathing of him post-game. It was only when I went back and rewatched the game, I was like, shit, man. Like, I had you stuffed up goggles on, and I wasn't noticing the good stuff he was doing. Goodness me.
And this is also not taking into account that tackle in the air. Absolutely not. None of that.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. So talk about big moments. Like, that was an innocuous thing that ended up becoming massive. They lost a player. We conceded 2 tries. Like, it put some more work through us with 12 men. But it just happened to be Luke was the person involved in that, and he barely tackled him. And that's what I'm saying. Like, big moments, he's attracted to big moments, or big moments find him. He's just not winning those moments. Like, that shit, he makes a mistake, and it's an impactful mistake. Like when he dropped that ball you're talking about. Yeah. It's a couple of times he's dropped a ball after a break or on a break where there's a try-scoring opportunity. So, yeah, he's missing a bit of that.
And when you said then, do these drop balls to essentially nullify everything that Goody's done in the game? Again, it is a very much a dependent situation. I mean, if it's 50 out, tackle 3, fatigue sets in, no. But if it's, like you said, if it's these moments where he has an opportunity to swing the momentum back in our favour, and he keeps, for lack of a better term, stuffing it up, then yes, it does nullify it. Because, I said it at the start, he did a lot in the game in terms of get us on the front foot, his returns. And it was clearly like he was trying to make up for something, and that's a credit to him as well. Doesn't sit there and wallow, doesn't sit there and hang his head, doesn't do a Nofaluma and just not care about the game. He sits there and actively tries to make up for it.
What about with the crowd getting into him? Like, that was intense. I was watching it on
like I said, there's 2 Muppets behind the fence.
I was watching it on
seeing
the
if
TV.
You wanted to go outside and have a fight.
I was watching it on the TV, and it was even intense watching it on the TV. So, yeah, credit to him for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a 19-year-old kid too. So,
anyway.
But he's my sink. And I think that's the second time he's been my sink so far this year. So,
okay. Like, he was mine too because he's a low-hanging fruit, I think, because of the natures of the mistakes. But so I'm not going. I don't have a sink per se. I've got a challenge, meaning that I want to challenge a couple of players, which is our starting props. I want to see a little bit more with the ball from our starting props in their first stint. I think we're winning a lot of contact early, and I think we've been exceptional. But what Royce and Sione are doing with the ball when they come on, with a bit of fatigue in the opposite team, is winning us games. Like, that's when we're scoring our points, when those blokes are on the football field and we've got go forward. And I think we're a little sideways with the ball to start football games, and it's reflected in the fact we're going behind in football games, like week on week on week. I think that, like, I'll reiterate, we're winning contact, and I think we're doing bang on about the phases of a tackle. I think we're doing to the ground really well, better than I've ever seen. And we're winning a lot of that ruck position, that wrestle position, but with the footy.
Yeah,
I think I just need a bit more out of Terrell and Pole. And I'm not even talking tradition, like even stats. I'm just talking about breaking first tackles, the odd extra offload, bending lines. Like, Royce is quite good at getting either easy post contact meters, or he falls through, finds his front immediately, and he's up before the markers are in position. Just those little bits and pieces. So look. That's not a criticism of them, because Bolle in particular, defensively, has been outstanding. now we're playing in the 90+%, which is a lovely place to be. My challenge is to those blokes: lift your with ball game, maybe.
Lift your attack. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's a fair one too. We do look a lot more dangerous, and that goes without saying, when we're offloading, and Terrell's probably one of the best at it. Haven't seen enough of it. So my thought process there actually is coaching. I think that comes down to Benji being quite safe to take the sting out of the game, to allow for these those impact players come off the bench and create that. So I think that's more coaching than anything. But I could be wrong.
I agree. And I think Twally is a nod to that too. I think it's a defensive start. I think we're starting with a wall in the middle, and then they're bringing our more dynamic props on later in the game. I think that's being done by default, and I'm sure that's how it's being sold to them. But it's working. Mate, that's our lift and sing. Let's jump into extra VIPs. Anybody else you want to mention? Who else jumps out? You've spoken about KPP. Mate, I'll throw one to you. Samuela continues with his effort areas, and talk about big moments finding people. He nails every single one of them. If Luke Lelele and Samuela find all these moments, Sammy's getting every one of them. How good is he?
Oh, the thing that I was thinking about this today, I don't actually remember seeing Sam take the line on too much or anything like that. But that's because he didn't have to. That's because what it seemed to me like is he knows when to choose his moments. He goes looking for work, but he doesn't go looking for moments. And he knows when to choose them. And Benji said it in the press conference, I'd easily say he has the best hands in the team. Like, when we go for those short dropouts or the short kickoffs, 9 times out of 10, if Sam's there, he gets it.
He's a target. And earlier in the game, very early in the game, we kicked to him, and he got it.
Yep.
Left the post. We were talking about earlier in the season how we can kick to our wingers, but then then I was saying, but we've got good leapers in on the edge too, and then you throw Dewey on one of those sides too. They've started to do it, and you can see why, and that's kicking to our shorter second rower as well, by the way.
Yeah.
So that remains an option there as well. Mate, he had as many runs as KPP.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I noticed more of KPP. Could be because I was focusing more on him. But KPP was like, gangly and get the ball off and stuff like that. But he didn't create... he had 2 amazing moments with 2 essentially try assists. But when the game was on the line, when we needed somebody, we needed the hero, who was there? Sam with a super S. So...
speaking of Kai Piss-Paul, great game, and he's doing wonders. Interesting stat that surprises me. 45 tackles, 4 missed, 2 ineffective for an efficiency of 88. Didn't notice him missing too many tackles out there on the edge, and he's renowned for his defence. That's a bit of an anomaly. I actually thought he did quite a good job out that side. In fact, when they threw that short ball on the in-line, it was his arm that slowed him down that were able to make that stop. I can't remember, was it Williams or was it Kelly or Walker?
Kelly's trying to start again.
I can't remember, but I just noticed that there. That aside, though, just to jump into KPP briefly again. Stats aside, the eye test tells you that defensively, whether it's because he's built like a 9-foot wide spider, I don't know. I think there's a lot of talk there too, but he works quite well on that right-hand side.
I agree. Yeah. And it goes on to my other sort of person that I think deserves a hell of a lot of credit, and that is Tito. I think Tito deserves a tremendous amount of credit.
Yeah.
I think playing out of position. Gives a lot of height to a lot of these centres these days. And you talk about, Tino also being 2 games into his career. I thought he's looked good defensively as well. But I think it just has a lot to do with who's on his inside.
Yeah.
You have KPP and you have, and Dewey, or is Jock on that side? No, I think Dewey's on that side. and Tito. All of them are talkers. All of them. And that's helping Tino with his work as well. And you watch it, like I was watching Tito a little bit. I didn't watch him too closely, but I watched him a couple of times. And he's pointing and he's talking and all that stuff, you know. That is helping this young kid stay where he needs to stay. I mean, you get that perfect example, you know, night and day. We know that Massey's quiet. We know that he by his own admission, he's quiet, you know, talks when he needs to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're two rookies out on that way. There looks like there's just some drop in communication consistently between the two of them. Whether it's, you know, whose fault it is, who knows, who cares. But when you look at the right side, the communication is always ongoing. It doesn't stop. And that's what I'm super impressed with. Like, we know how good of a finisher Tito is, but for me, how quickly he can adapt is why I think that he deserves a shout out as well.
Yeah, for sure. He's a very versatile player. That's what people forget. Like, he played a lot of junior grades at fullback, coming through at Penrith as well, and covers fullback quite well. Yeah, and did a good job. That's where he came through. He played for Fiji, I think, before he made his NRL debut, and had a blinder for Fiji playing at fullback. He's a very versatile footballer, and like, he gives away a lot of size, like you're saying, but he just covers ground so well, especially over the first 3 to 4 meters laterally, forward, back. So even if he misses first contact, or you're talking about Tino likes to jam as well. So you got perfect sweep men on that, because Dewey is a handy cover tackler as well, but Tito in particular, if you miss your assignment on your jam and they get in behind you, then Tito can just push and slide quite well. He moves pretty well laterally in that regard. So your point about talking is interesting too. There's a lot of talkers on that right side. You're right there. And even KPP, who's not renowned as a talker, we found out through the pre-season documentary and talking to a few people and hearing feedback that he does, and he is a big talker, just deliberately as an experienced player on an edge, where you need to be a big communicator. So, fair point, mate. Look, Jockey Madden continues to impress. I think that, for me, I think he's, and rightly so, deservedly so, he's coming in clutch with a few really big moments and some nice moments that have put us over the line in the last couple of weeks. And I think he's playing extremely well, and I think he's suiting the way we're playing. And I think he's playing within himself at the moment, Jock Madden. I don't think he's been playing the house down as well as what everybody is talking about, particularly because his side defensively has had its issues.
His issues.
Yeah, and he personally as well. But I'm not going to critique it, because he's playing really good footy, and I'm really pleased with what he's doing, especially as an understudy. He's, for what you would have the expectation of most first drops in a halves position NRL side. He's playing the house down, considering that. And you can't ask for anything more than that. He's kicking all these goals. His kicking game is excellent. The way he straightens the attack and digs into the line is, dare I say it, Cleary-esque. He changes tempo when he runs, which is that accelerating into the line before passing out back. There's a lot of drill work in that. There's a lot of Nathan Cleary in that. It's working well.
And anyone who Nathan Cleary right now, that guy's untouchable.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it looks like he's modelled parts of his game on the quality of Cleary.
I agree. But for me,
that's
with
the big
Jock,
thing, though, and I don't want to just brush over that, because the straightening I've been banging on for a while about is, like, he has the protractor out, and he's going perpendicular at him. That's really impressive, and it's in large part why we're seeing so much space finally for our fullback 5'8" centres to have a little bit of football. Whether or not that's clicking or not, which I don't think it is at the moment on our edges.
No.
The space is being created by the likes of Jock inside, straightening and digging in so well. Yeah.
Yeah, see, we were talking about Luke before, about what he does, 98 or 90% of the time, negate the 10% that he, sort of stuffs up. No, really doesn't. For the things that Jock misses or lacks, or, the moments that he misses, his moments that he takes 100% make up for that. You know, there was like, I think last week he had that really poor read that led to a try. But the rest of the game, he was one of the reasons that we got on that front foot as well as we did. And more to that sweet plays that we're creating out the back, it's Buller that's stuffing that up. So,
Yeah, and like I said, I think we've played a few teams that really work hard from the inside. Not all teams work hard from the inside. Some teams have better defensive structures and don't need to. Para, push hard from the inside. Cows, push hard from the inside. Like the Deardens and alike, always push across and run you out of space. So I think it's been exemplified, or it's been exaggerated in those games on those sweeps, just on that point you made, where they still look a bit clunky. And I think it's both that and the fact that we've been missing one of our 5'8" and captain, and then also both our starting centres. So I think there's been a few facets to that.
yeah.
I think that's still a work in progress, and we've been talking about that for quite some time. Mate, anybody else that you want to mention? I mean, Alex Twal, you got to continue to just marvel at his output.
Shout out Twal.
120 metres, 40 post contact. What have we got? 50 tackles at over 92%. Mate, just shit hot. Playing great football. I actually thought for the first time a team took him seriously and went out to go after him and rough him up a bit. And they were trying to put hits on 12. I think Para actually recognised him as one of the key drivers of our side early in the season, and they went after him a little bit, but he stood up to the challenge.
Well, Moses also sort of went after him as well, getting a bit niggly with him. You could see they was push and shove a little bit.
Don't open the Moses box, mate. This podcast will be 6 hours.
What, your favourite mate? Yeah, no, damn right about 12. But another one that just keeps impressing me again and again is Royce. Can you? What was his stats for the game?
I know he only played 22 minutes.
Really?
So he's 22 minutes, 22 very impactful minutes, 7 runs for 76 metres. Half of them were post-contact. So he made half his metres in post-contact at 38. 3 and this is an impressive stat for a big man, 3.1 second play the ball speed, which is the best out of any of the forwards other than Terrell May. So that's impressive, and that's a big reason too, because like we were saying before, he's the type that tends to fall through on tackles, and so combining that with a quick play the ball, pretty important. Tackling 81%, 13 made, 3 ineffective. So he's got to work on wrapping that footy up a little bit more, but mate, just big impactful minutes. He and Sione together are proving quite a good 1-2 punch through the centre, and they are doing it on both sides of the ball, even if, particularly Sione playing longer minutes, but even if Royce is playing that shorter stint, it's working well at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Quick shout out.
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, mate. Anything else that you want to touch on about that game? We talked about a bit of the controversy with it. Went through.
Do you want to talk about Mitchell Moses?
What do you want to say about Mitchell Moses?
No, I want to know what you want to say. That's all I'm caring about.
He's just a cat, mate. Like, I'm all for people doing the odd little sneaky thing here or there, but he just combines it with the constant whinging. He looks for some sort of sneaky decision to go his way in all scenarios. He'll play for a call in all scenarios. He sucks, mate. He's just one of those people that's just too competitive for his own good, and he doesn't play it in the spirit of the game. He's not the only one, but he's just a whinging little sook. So, good player, man, but fucking hell. And then just the carry on. Like the amount of times if he was playing the 70s or the 80s that one of the forwards just would have grabbed him and just said, don't ever do that again. It probably would have only happened once, but anyway.
Yeah.
Good player. We'll leave it there, mate. We might jump into a little segment if you think it's time.
Oh, it's time.
It must then be time for Toby's weekly Pathways Roundup.
Yes. So we'll start off again with Easter Monday, because we'll start off with the boys that opened for the Reggies that opened for the first grade. Again, that was also live on KO, so I watched that. Watched my first New South Wales Cup game this year. I really need to get that bar TV, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you've mentioned it every show for like 3 months.
I know.
Buy it or shut up.
Just buy me one. So we actually got our first win of the year. So that's round 5. So we're now 1-4. Beat the Eels 30-24. Tries to Fainga, Andrew, Sakuru scored a double. Suka and Attard, with Andrews kicking 3 from 6. Andrews actually looked really good. He looked fleet-footed. There was one try that he scored, or the only try that he scored. Benji step, bang, straight through into it. It was actually really good to watch. And then Jersey's flag. Say again?
I said Javon looks great.
He does. Jersey Flag played on Saturday out at Kellyville, went down to the Eels 30-4, with our only try coming from Xavier Taufiga. Good old Tapau Moore's got Simbin. Great. So, yeah, I think that makes us 2-3 now for the Jersey Flag boys. Yep. Move on to SG Ball. Went down to the Rabbitohs 46-4, with our only try coming to Canaan. And we'll move into the Harold Mats. So the Harold Mats, actually that now with the SG Ball, that puts us, because the finals next week, that puts us out of contention. So, yay. Then with the Harold Mats, that was the Tigers, and Magpies had the bye. Same thing with the Harold Mats, Tigers, Magpies had the bye. Also went down to the Rabbitohs 52-0. Again, that puts us out of contention for both the Magpies and the Tigers out of the finals, because they're in week 1 as well. Move on to the girls. This is some good news, even though we did come off a loss. We lost in the Tarsha Gale, lost to the Roosters 32-6, but we have made the finals. Week 1 is next week, and we're playing the Panthers, I believe. And then very similar story for the Lisa Fiola, with going down to the Roosters 18-8, but again, we have made the finals, so we are playing the Panthers in week 1 of the finals. So good luck to those girls. Look forward to seeing some W's next week.
All right. That's it. Good to see New South Wales Cup blokes get a win.
Yes.
The poor buggers have been without their most likely starting hooker and starting halfback too. Imagine if Jock was running around down there.
Yeah, I know, right?
A lot better. Mate, I might jump into the Knights game then. Campbelltown Stadium. First one for the year down there. Hopefully we pack it out and we can turn around our fortunes. We play the Newcastle Knights on Sunday, 12th of April at 4:05 p.m. We are starting favourites. Never a good thing. We line up as follows, very, very similar. Buller at fullback, Tino Tavana, and Gerald Skelton comes in for the suspended Luke Lelalii. On the other wing, we've got Tito Taruva and Marcy Makassini as our centres. Jock Madden is the 6, Adam Dewey, the halfback, Terrell May, Fanua Pole are the props, Happy Coruscant hooker, Samuela Fainu, Kai Pearce-Paul on the edge, and 12 locks the scrum. 14, Latu Fainu, Sione Fainu, Royce Hunt, Alex Seyfarth, Tristan Hope, Patrick Herbert comes in to Gerald's spot at 19 as the, what would you say, the back end?
Outside back coverage.
Yeah. Our extended reserves then are Buntia for Tony Suka, who apparently has been playing incredible in New South Wales Cup.
He did play well.
Year, in fact. And Charlie Murray at 22 gets his first, I think, extended squad pick of the year. Mate, the Knights, they're a surprise pack in themselves. In fact, you might even say more so, missing their 2 biggest players, one of their big star signings.
And they'll miss their other big player as well this week.
Wooden spoon last year, and now they're sitting up just underneath us in third, but they've actually got an extra win.
They have. Which is, did any one of us pick that? Because I didn't.
4 from 5. No, mate, so what have you made of the Knights? And how do you think we go about beating them?
I personally don't know much about the Knights. I haven't watched any of their games, really. they're 4-5. Have they had any big games recently that they've won, or have they all come against like lower teams? Because I actually don't know if that's
No, they pretty comprehensively beat the Raiders last week. They beat the Doggies the week before. Warriors put the cleanest through them in round 3.
Yep.
They beat a struggling Manly, and they beat a struggling Cows in round 1 over in Vegas. So they've beaten some good teams. Definitely.
They have.
I mean, they beat the Doggies and the Raiders.
Yeah, but also Doggies and Raiders haven't been on brand either.
No, so it's really hard to get a read with them. What they do have is a lot of dangerous players and a lot of speed. Fletcher Hunt, Fletcher Sharp, Dominic Young. You can't give those guys a sniff, or they're gone. Especially Sharp. I think he in particular gave us a lot of trouble last year. For whatever reason, like he's very Reece Walsh-like. Just hard to get a handle on. Hard to get even like who comes to mind? Like Keanu Kinney comes to mind. Tane Tuapiki, Suafar Longo, like these types that they're just little and jackrabbity, and for whatever reason, we've always struggled with those types of players. How are you going about it? What are you going to target when it comes to these guys here?
Well, they've got, like I said, they got another big out too, because Bradman Best has been ruled out, I think, with hamstring issues.
I didn't even see that until, so they got Wilson DeCourcy.
Yeah.
He's a big out, you're right.
That's a big out. So then that's my way. So I think that's their left side, which is our right side, which is the ones that we've been talking about, Air Tino. Air Tino's going up against Marju. That's a Marju's obviously a very hard runner. He's not a big leaper. So for me, it's peppering that right side.
Yeah, and I wouldn't assume that they would swap, so that's the way it's going to be, which means that you'll have Skelton up against Dom Young, which is good from a physical point of view, but I worry about the leap, because Young can leap as well. And Gerald's going to want to get his jamming right, because if they get a harbour ball over to Young and he gets a bit of a sniff, the cross coverage is going to have to be doing well to get him. That's the problem with someone with such speed. So that's a worry. I think anytime you see a mainstay at centre be replaced, that has to be something that you look at seriously. And he's going to have Jermaine McEwen, I think, on that side, because I think Dylan Lucas plays on the right, doesn't he? And Marju and Best are on the Marju and Best on the left. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
I'm pretty certain that's how they line up. Yeah. So you're looking at DeCourcy and McEwen as your side on that side. You've also then got whether they've got Smith or Smith defend on the left and Sharp on the right. Either way, you've got a few younger players, I think, around those edges. But what's our formula, mate? Like, it's just hold them through the middle, slowly grind over the top, and then beat them with fatigue at the back end with our dynamic props come on the field.
I think that's probably like for me a winning formula there is essentially do what we've been doing. Take the sting out, because they've got Jacob Saifidi, Trey Mooney is aggressive, but their forward pack is probably not the top 10, to be honest. There's a lot of new guys there. Dylan Lucas, I think, is actually a good player. I actually like what I get from Dylan Lucas.
I will say Jacob Saifidi's been playing really well to start the year. He's actually had a really good start.
I haven't watched enough, so I don't know.
Yeah, he has. And they're the type of pack, I think, that has surprised teams this year, to be honest.
Well, I think probably the same can be said for us as well. So I think we work them over in the middle to start the game, and that's when we push it out and pepper the right side. It's actually not even a bad thing to try to get under Gagai's skin. As soon as you get under Gagai's skin, he makes some very silly decisions.
It's going to be interesting because it'll be he versus Marcy.
Yeah.
That's an interesting matchup. It's almost like a Jack Whiten sort of veteran origin player matchup, though Gagai and Whiten very different, but Marcy's coming up against another sort of seasoned veteran that's been around a long time. So that'd be interesting to see how that plays out. It could go either way. Like Gagai's been known to have blinders against us, and he's been known to have shoppers as well at other times. So
he's been known to take some on the draw from Luke Brooks too.
True. That's true. Mate, certainly a team that on paper we look like we match up pretty well against. I do worry about things like second phase play with those types of players. I think that given you got Sandon Smith and Fletcher Sharp as your halves, Phoenix Croslin as your hooker who can kick, but he's not a renowned kicker. I think you've got to really pressure the hell out of their halves. We didn't do it enough to Mitch Moses, I'll be honest, on the weekend. I wasn't as the game early, but as the game wore on, he had a lot of time, a little too much time for my liking with his kicking game. I think if we put a bit more on Sandon and Fletcher, that can affect their decision making. Wrap up offloads, keep them to a minimum, and I think you go a long way to beating the Knights. That being said, I think it's going to be a tougher game than people are giving us credit for, and this is a game I can see us losing. I'm not going to call that, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. For whatever reason, sometimes these quote-unquote middling teams, even though we've been a lower team, these types of teams that traditionally we should beat or could beat, we tend to struggle against. But we keep hearing this as a new team. On that note, mate, give us a bold prediction, and do we get over the top of the Newcastle Knights?
So my bold prediction is going to be is going to be what I said I hoped for. Is that Skeleton's going to have a blinder? I think he's going to score 2, run for over 200 metres, and really shut down that left-hand side with Dom Young. And I actually think we are going to win. I think this is going to be the first time that we called it a couple of times last year, but this is the first time we're going to win 3 in a row for quite a while. I think it's going to be along the lines of 32-18. And yeah, I think it's going to be. I think we're going to see another level of Jock as well. I think Jock is going to step it up again.
Yeah, cool. Okay, sweet. Bold prediction. That was your Dural one.
Yeah, over 200 metres, 2 tries.
Okay. I think it's going to be a pretty scrappy game, and I think the scores are actually going to be surprisingly a bit lower. I think we'll get them something like 24-14, 26-16, something like that. And that's the way I'm thinking. There's going to be some opportunistic tries. I think we're going to continue to struggle with shape. We still don't have Jerome back. We still don't have our centres back working order. We've now got another change with Gerald coming in, so it's a test for the systems, particularly with the ball. That's where we've struggled. Without the brilliance of Dewey against the Warriors, we struggled from long range a little bit, and our red zone attack is still troublesome. So I think we're just going to have to bang the door down and get a few simple ones, a couple of soft ones. So on that note, I'm going to back Appy to have a big game, and I'm going to say he's going to get one for himself and set up a couple. He's going to be the linchpin basically this week, and we'll look back and. Not that he hasn't already been incredible this year in a lot of ways. I think it has to centre around Appy because I think in a lot of ways that centre is going to go a long way, or the middle of the field is going to go a long way in this game for whatever reason. It's just a hunch I've got. But, mate, to be honest, these two teams with the way they're going could be 42-40.
Yeah, true.
Then again, they've been defending well, so maybe not. Who knows? Either way, Sunday, 4 o'clock, cracking time for football. And if you're down in the area, get down and pack out Campbelltown. It's long since overdue, I think, that the Tigers started really roaring down there. And you've never had a better reason or excuse to get down there and pack out the place and get it heaving. First month of football, second on the ladder. Mate, we're looking good, work to be done, but I wouldn't trade this start of the year for the world.
No.
Anything else you want to add, my friend, before we jump into PSAs?
No, brother. Good.
All right, just hanging in there from your end, I can tell. All good, mate. All West Tigers media is good media in our eyes. Get on over and follow West Tigers TV, the West Tigers podcast, the West Tigers Faithful podcast, The Ambush on Facebook and westtigersforum.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Best On Ground Digital, the digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy. Score in the corner, click it over the black dot. They will not steer you wrong, bestongrounddigital.com. That was a mouthful. Mate, 3 in a row this weekend. We've both predicted it to happen. It's been a long time coming. Can we do it? I don't know. These are the games we normally lose. Let's go in with an open mind. What do you say?
Please.
On that note, nothing to say other than go the mighty West Tigers.
Up the West Tigers.